when he says, anybody asking Sean Payton these questions, anybody asking Andy Reid these questions, that's a fair point. Why suddenly Mike Tomlin gets thrown into coaching searches in college is anybody's guess. He is one of the most successful coaches in the NFL. He's been to 2 Super Bowls and won 1. He's been to the same job for 15 years. In fact, as many Steelers fans would love to go back to Bill Cowher and say, Tomlin's no Cowher, in the same amount of time, in the same amount of years, Mike Tomlin was only 1 win fewer than Bill Cowher's record. So doing the same job, maybe not getting to the same AFC championship games, but, Bill Cowher had a ton of flameouts in the AFC title games as well, and he's beloved. Tomlin's not as beloved, but an incredibly successful head coach. Not without flaws, but why would anybody just assume that he would be going to college? I also find it hysterical when people are like, just offer him 3 times as much money as, you would get at Pittsburgh. As though he's working for minimum wage with the Steelers. Like, his salary's really good with the Steelers, and at USC, it's still a private institution that you've got to have boosters and donors pay to make 3 times the offer of what that guy's making. Like, that's not living in reality. You're not going to offer Mike Tomlin 3 times his salary. I think Ryan Clark said something like that or something. That's not living in reality. But also, Mike Tomlin's he hasn't flirted with coaching jobs. He hasn't interviewed for coaching jobs. He hasn't kept those doors open. Like, he's just all in on the Steelers all of the time. We know this. So flippantly to just connect him to a random college coaching job is pretty disrespectful. It kind of is. I mean, some would say, well, it's actually a compliment. People want you. But we don't just randomly attach really good NFL coaches or great NFL coaches to the next college opening. USC's a really good college job. Sorry, it's not the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, no offense to USC, but it's not the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The LSU job's a great college job. It's not the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's just not. And I think part of the reason that this type of thing has legs, has steam, is because, number one, we live in this ecosystem of hot takery where that bold claims and hot rants and crazy takes are rewarded. They get retweeted, they get replayed, they get watched, they get viewed. It's why one of the most popular videos on WFAN's Twitter feed over the week was Mraz wiping his butt with a jersey. It's really the unfortunate reality is that if Mraz actually looked into the camera and gave some astute opinion about the game, it would do worse than him wiping his ass. At the end of the day, that's the reality, and he is going to ply his trade in the currency of popularity. That's going to be Mraz, no matter what. And I'm certainly not above that either, because we pay attention to metrics and things like that. But no matter how lowbrow it gets, Mraz will do it if it means it's more attention. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, although you're right, but it does feel cringy to say for attention. But
Well, when your boss comes up to you and is like, good job on the wiping your butt thing.
Yeah.
He says that because it got attention. If it got 16 views and Twitter shut it down because it was too crude.
Right. No, I'm actually not being argumentative with you. I get what you're saying. It feels cringeworthy to say, I wanted to do that for attention. No, I wanted to do that because it just that you need to keep spinning the wheel because clicks and views mean, I guess it is attention.
Well, you thought it would get attention.
Yes.
And so that
and the
was,
idea is to separate a little bit from the other stuff. But I guess in reality, the attention is supposed to lead to positivity within the company and career and all of that.
Totally. Yes, that's the scoreboard.
Right. That's my point. It's not like I did that just because I want everybody to look at me. I did that because, well, this is what seems to be the trajectory. And
Well, you also don't mind everybody looking
No.
at you.
Of course. I don't have shame. But I will say, in my mid-30s with 2 kids, my goal here is to do what I love, but also know that I need to provide for my family.
Right. And as you said, you would be jumping on the bar anyway. So doing things to get attention, that certainly is in your DNA.
I am not acting above board. I am just saying when you put it like I simply want to do it just for attention, there is a mathematical goal here. That's all.
When you took off your shirt and entered the Christmas party on a slide.
That's for attention. That was, yes.
Because you did think that it would benefit your career.
Yeah, and also I want to do injections. I want to have fun. I want to be the fun guy. No doubt about it. No, I'm not above that. I'm not above wiping my butt. Maybe I would have done that anyway. So I'm not denying that. I'm saying when I put it on film for the company, the end goal is not I want everybody in the company to look at me. The end goal is this is going to provide positivity for the social media team.
So this is, of course, the landscape we live in. And so you connect Mike Tomlin to coaching jobs, and you stomp your feet and you hit the desk and you yell into the microphone and we got to get him. We need to get him. And that's how these things pick up steam. And then, of course, you tweet about them or you write a headline about them and they get retweeted because it's interesting. And that's how things pick up steam. And so some of it is not Mike Tomlin's fault. It's just like that's the reality of the fuel of the ecosystem of sports media these days. And look, if the media wants to ask why Americans have faltered or have lost faith in the institution of journalism and media, it's because we do things like that. I mean, I can only really speak for the sports media, but like the buffoonery daily, the hyperventilation overtakes, to just, like crawl over the next corpse to get to the hottest peak is stupefying. It's like everybody just has lost their mind in a zombie world of hot takery. It's like who can be crazier next? Who can lose their breath next? But no, look, the audience wants it. We don't care. As long as the audience wants it, we're good with it. The bosses like what the audience likes, and the audience has said we're going to watch buffoonery. We like it. We're into it. We love Mraz wiping his butt with a Carolina Panthers jersey. It's getting views. We like that.
Clickbait.
That's who we are, I suppose. So in some ways when Mike Tomlin is mad at this, it's just the beast that's gotten out of the cage. It's not even about him. It's about how it seems and sounds and feels. I also think, though, that part of this is that Mike Tomlin does seem like he would be a good college coach if he cared enough to do it, if he wanted to do it, because Mike Tomlin is very clear with purpose. He's very strong. He has this very strong presence. And yet he still feels like he can connect with players and young players. He does not feel old and out of touch and stodgy and who would listen to that guy if you're 19 or 20 years old. He does seem like he can just command attention. Like if Mike Tomlin was in here in the studio, A, we would all be like sitting up straight and be on our P's and Q's. And B, Mraz would never wipe his butt with a jersey. Like that, he'd be scared of what Mike Tomlin would say about that.
No doubt. In fact, I'm still scared Mike Tomlin might see it.
So there is something where it's like, Tomlin, I would want him coaching, my college kids. I understand that. But Tomlin is right in the fact that we don't just randomly connect successful coaches to college. Like he should get the USC job. Well, why? Andy Reid feels totally out of touch with a college football player. Totally get that. Sean Payton, probably too old to feel like that's a good fit. When he brings up those names, that might be why. But also, like, everybody wants to run Mike Tomlin out of Pittsburgh every year. Is this the year he's going to get fired? Is this the year he's going to get fired? He's not Bill Cowher. They're not reaching their potential. Where are the Steelers? And I think that's his frustration, is that, his bosses don't feel the same way the media and fans do. His bosses like him. He feels like he's doing a good job. Why am I connected to the USC job? I don't want the USC job, and they're not firing me. So why? I suppose it'd be like if I saw all these trade publications being like, DA should be the next morning host in Grand Rapids. Be like, no, I like my job. I like this job. I think my bosses like me in this job. No offense to Grand Rapids, but like, why aren't you asking, the night guy in Grand Rapids this question? Why aren't you asking, the morning show guy, in El Paso this question? What?
Just poor Grand Rapids. It always comes back to it. Mraz, if you get overnights in Grand Rapids, if I get asked to do mornings in Grand Rapids, poor Grand Rapids gets beat up here.
It's true. We always beat up Grand Rapids.
There's a million towns in America, and your crutch is always Grand Rapids.
It really is.